watching this edition of Capital City News, your connection to Salt Lake City government. I'm your host, Poonam Kumar. On this week's show, we'll be talking to Salt Lake City Police Chief Mike Brown about his department's efforts to build better community relations. And our History Minute is about the Salt Palace. But first, let's start with our legislative update and look back.
The City Council discussed the city's effort to create 2 new emergency shelters to provide homeless services. The Commission will continue to meet and will present periodic updates to the Council. The Council's next meetings are held on August 9th and 16th.
The Salt Lake City Council confirmed the appointment of Vicki Bennett as the Director of the Office of Sustainability and Greg Daly as the Chief Information Officer for the city's Information and Management Services Department. Officers, civilians, explorers, and families gathered together to pay tribute to the fallen Dallas police officers at a vigil hosted by the Salt Lake City Police Department. A new housing innovation lab was launched by the city with an introduction to the new Emery Passive House. The house is a model of efficient, innovative, and affordable family housing in Salt Lake City's Poplar Grove neighborhood. The city's overall housing strategy recognizes new homes can be well built with popular design features while still being affordable. The Twilight Concert Series is back for the summer season. Thousands gathered at Pioneer Park to listen to the rhythmic sounds of electronica music from Chet Faker and Katranada. Twilight concerts will be held every Thursday now through September 1st at Pioneer Park. For details, visit twilightconcertseries.com. Transforming Together, a guided dialogue to help strengthen police-community relationships, was held at the Sorensen Unity Center. Salt Lake City Police Chief Mike Brown and Mayor Jackie Biskupski listened to residents' concerns as part of an ongoing effort to transform and bolster police and civilian relationships within the city. A commemorative hike through Immigration Creek gave residents a chance to walk in the footsteps of the 1847 pioneers. Following the hike, the annual First Encampment celebration held at Donner Park offered event-goers an authentic pioneer experience, including music, food, and entertainment. To address national trends of fear and mistrust, Chief Brown is implementing changes on how police interact with the community. The chief is here to tell us more.
Community policing is when you have people living in a community and you have officers that serve that community, them coming together to work on problems, issues in that community. But it's more than just chasing crimes and responding to calls. It's coming together to be stronger as a community. The more a community works with its police department, the more a police department understands its community, the better that community will be. And I'm telling you, Salt Lake City, we're on a very good track under Mayor Biskupski's leadership. When we reorganized, we had a lot of officers in different units that didn't allow our patrol officers to spend the time they needed on the calls as they were serving the citizens of the city. They would go call to call to call all night long. They had no investment, they had no time to sit down and talk face to face with people, to interact and to build that trust. And so we quickly realized we needed to do something. And with that being said, we have over the last year really strived to, number one, give our officers the time and the numbers and the training to go and to talk with people. I realized that we needed a bridge into the communities we served. We needed somebody to tell us, hey, look, you need to do this. You have a blind spot here that you don't know about. And so I went out and I recruited folks from the community. They're not paid, they're volunteers. They're people that live in our communities, that have an investment in our communities, that want to see change. And so those folks come together at least monthly, and we sit down and talk. And the charge that I have given them is I want honest, real, raw, organic information and conversation. Don't sugarcoat it. I mean, if it's something the police department needs to hear, if it's something the police department needs to do better, that's what I need you for. And so from a policing aspect, I mean, we should be looking holistically at the situations we're involved in. And so with that being said, I think this transformation that we're talking about and what we're doing here tonight, the listening, it's all part of us, the police, the city, the community coming together to fix these problems and understand each other. I mean, every time we get together and talk, whether if somebody emails us or they call us on the phone or they get involved in CAB or through our volunteer corps, police, our neighborhood watch, anytime they stand up and care about the community they live in, that's a good thing. Anytime they work with us, that's a fantastic thing. And that, I think, is a huge step forward. And that is the direction I know Mayor Biskupski is very involved. She talks about transformation. She talks about changing the interactions of our communities and our police department. And that is what's happening in the Salt Lake City Police Department.
And now it's time for a History Minute.
During the 1800s, community gathering palaces had become fashionable in cities. Minneapolis had an ice palace, Sioux City a corn palace, and so Salt Lake City decided it required a salt palace. Local businessmen and members of the community rallied to begin construction in 1899. They chose famed Salt Lake architect Richard Cletting to design the building and located it on 900 South between Main Street and State Street. The building featured salt in every stage of its construction. The wooden frame was sprayed with powdered salt, the interior walls were made of wood saturated in brine that deposited salt crystals over the entire surface, and rock salt slabs were cut into pillars and arches. Add to that thousands of lights over the entire building, and Salt Lake had a gathering place it could truly be proud of. It quickly became a popular spot for dances and gatherings. At one point it played host to a steam-powered carousel and the first wooden bicycle racing track in Salt Lake City. The popularity would not be long-lived, however. At 3:30 a.m. on the morning of August 29, 1910, almost exactly 11 years after the Salt Palace opened, a fire broke out, completely destroying the building. The site became known as Majestic Park, and the bicycle races and community gatherings continued. A pavilion was constructed on the site of the old Salt Palace, and it housed a skating rink, auditorium, and dance floor. In 1914, a fire engulfed the bicycle track, and then a snowstorm collapsed the pavilion in 1916. And this ended effectively the era of the old Salt Palace and Majestic Park.
That's it for another episode of Capital City News, where we do our best to keep you in the know. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you join us next time. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar.